What's up guys, it's Rowan here from Artist Smart TV. And should you tackle your exams chronologically? Is it the right thing to do or is it the wrong thing to do? That's what you're going to learn about today. You're going to learn whether or not you should do an exam in chronological order or not. Let's jump in and find out. So let's jump in and look at the pros of actually doing an exam chronologically. So from start to end. And the first pro really is that, well, the exam was designed to be done that way. It was designed to be done in a certain way, and so by actually taking it in that way, you're doing it in the way it was designed, and the theory therefore is maximizing the likelihood that you do as well as possible. The other pro here in doing it chronologically is if you jump around, it can be really easy just to forget and miss stuff. I've heard so many stories of students missing pages in exam papers because they've jumped around and used a different approach and they haven't actually tackled it chronologically. And the third reason why it's a pro to do it chronologically is that often you can run out of time, and so it's also adding an extra layer of complexity if you're jumping around the paper in different orders in actually keeping track of where you are in the paper with the time that you have allocated. So it can be really easy, if you do it chronologically, to keep track of the time in where you should actually be to complete the paper in the time that you have in the exam. So they're the pros of why you might want to do an exam chronologically. So what are some of the cons of tackling an exam paper chronologically? Well, I think the first major con is that you can run out of time. You can move through the paper chronologically, get stuck on a question that just proves to be surprisingly tricky, and then you miss out on completing the end of the paper. Now that can have some consequences. The big consequence really can be that those last two questions might have actually been super easy for you. Right? You might have been able to, if you had got there, to be able to complete them, nail it, and get 100%. So in other words, by doing it chronologically, you can actually not maximize your marks across the paper that you know. So this idea here is that you want to get 100% of what you know right, and then try to pick up some marks across the things that are challenging. And if you do it chronologically, it can prevent you from actually achieving that. So there you go, there are some real pros and some real cons in doing it chronologically. What should you do? Well, look, to be frank, I think the first thing is really, to simplify it, doing it chronologically does help, right? There is a huge benefit in simplifying your timing and your process. In saying that though, you don't want to get stuck on a question and lose marks later on. So the variation here that I'm going to suggest is to simply do an if too hard, move on. So set yourself a certain time limit on a question. If you haven't been able to solve it in that certain time limit, you move on. Right, so you can do it chronologically, you then move on, you pick up marks, get 100% through the rest of the paper that you do know, and then you come back with the spare time that you have at the end to those couple of questions that you tried that you weren't able to complete. Now the good thing is, because you're still doing it chronologically, you're still keeping it simple and you're still making sure you don't miss anything, but you're still enabling yourself to aim to get 100% of the paper that you do know. Now, at the end of the day, it is also a question of what's going to work for you. Right, you may find that doing it in a certain order just is what works, and chronological, and even with this if too hard move on strategy, is not going to work. So the best thing that you can do is to test it well before you get to your trials or your HSC exam. Right, test it out on your exams and assessments, test out the approach, and just see what works for you. Right, do one approach chronological, how do you go? Do another approach, jump into the hard stuff first, right? Do another approach where you do a certain order because you think it's going to work better for you. And then sit back and evaluate and go, great, now that I know this one works the best, use that for your trial and your HSC exam, which are worth the most. So, if you have any questions, guys, about chronologically, which way to take your exams, exam technique, exams, whatever it might be, leave a comment below. I'd love to help and support you on your journey. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. We're bringing videos to you every single week. So I will see you next week.